say, I think the Eagles are going to be a tough matchup. Did you watch that game against the Bills that they just had?
The Eagles suck. That'll be an easy game. No, I'm just kidding. That's gonna be a hell of a tough matchup. Yeah, I watched that one. I watched the Chiefs one. I watched them game against Miami. I think it was pretty.
Miami?
I think Miami. I think it was pretty clear from the moment like the schedule was released. I mean, we already knew who the opponents was, but the fact that it was away and like you saw where it was at, like no matter what, like yep, circle that game as the toughest game on the 49ers schedule. And, a lot of times, not a lot of times, but sometimes that doesn't play out as true. It's like, okay, well, now in hindsight, now we're close here. Now it's not true, but it's definitely clear when you're 10-1 that you're obviously one of the best teams in the league and they're fierce and you're on the road for the 49ers. So I'm excited because this has been like, animosity's been building on the off season between you guys, 49er fans and Eagles fans, which Eagles fans are kind of like some scum, some of them. And then you have obviously like between the players, which, some people take out of context, like Debo was talking all this crap. And it's like, he was getting asked questions. He wasn't really saying it unprovoked or unsolicited. But either way, things were said, which I'm kind of glad because things have gotten built up to this point. And now
makes the game way more interesting, right?
This makes the whole Venom, like, I'm just ready for that game. That game is probably going to be the best game of the year, regular season wise.
I hope so. I mean, I feel like fans missed out on not getting the game that they should have gotten in the NFC Championship game. Not trying to take away credit from the Eagles, because I think that is a controversial topic for fans. But I'm really interested. Now, do you think that the Eagles are as good as a team as they were last year? We'll start with them.
Oh, no, because Jalen Hurts isn't as good as he was last year. And I feel like the defense has taken like somewhat of a dip too. Like if you look at the good of what the Eagles are better at, they're better at running the football in terms of running back wise, I think. And they got a definitely better running back in DeAndre Swift because Miles Sanders is kind of garbage. But yeah, there's just something about Hurts this year. He's turning the ball over a lot more frequently. He's kind of missing some guys. Of all the coordinators that was really going to hurt the Eagles, right, between Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon, it was kind of clear that it was going to be Steichen. And you kind of get that sense a little bit, even though they do have a lot of explosiveness to their game. But I just think that's more like they have elite players. So, yeah, like Jalen Hurts is not looking like the same, which I think is funny. I saw like he's the leader and MVP, and I'm like, no, he's not. He shouldn't be. I mean, in terms of we're just talking quarterbacks. I think
it's just a really weak quarterback play this year.
But yeah, it has been, but still, he shouldn't be in the front runner. But either way, yeah, he's definitely having a down year compared to last year. He's still a really good quarterback, but in terms of like if you're looking at that version last year, that would be a lot scarier. But now I'm thinking like, yeah, it's a tough matchup. They have a better running game. The defense is obviously stout, especially the defensive line is incredibly, my God, I don't know what words, monstrous, nightmarish. And you look at the 49ers, that's a complete mismatch right there. So how are you going to mitigate that? Because now you're having the same issues that you saw last time in the NFC Championship game where the right side of the offensive line, where no matter who even if it's a backup tight end, George Kittle, whoever, it doesn't matter. Who's going to block Hassan Reddick and the other 7, like, damn near Pro Bowl caliber all-pro players? That's going to be tough. So, yeah, they're not as scary as last year. And I think if you're the 49ers, what you got going for you is you have 3 days rest and you're facing an Eagles team who just come off a battle with the Bills. And then before that, 6 days prior to that game, they had a battle with the Chiefs, essentially. So I kind of expect them to look a little sluggish, almost like how we saw the Niners come against the Bengals.
Yeah.
At least over time, because of the 49ers
in the beginning, I could see
back. And I think by the time it's like late in the game, that's when the Eagles are going to start being like maybe messing up or something. So yeah,
really? Okay.
It's tricky.
I have the opposite prediction. I think that they'll probably start out pretty sluggish because right now the 49ers, I think, are leading the league in first half scoring, and the Eagles are leading the league in third quarter scoring and second half scoring. But usually, like, especially if we look at the Bills and the Chiefs game, they kind of start slow, and then it seems like they have good halftime adjustments. Mm-hmm. Or maybe by then, because I know that Jalen Hurts is also dealing with an injury, so maybe by then he loosens up a little bit. I don't know if that's like a real thing.
Shot.
Yeah, but they do seem to come back out way better, and I wonder who that's going to bode well for more, because I'm so interested. The teams play such different styles of football. The 49ers love to, this year, get out with a lead and kind of score as much as they can and kind of slow down as the game goes on. where the Eagles have the opposite. They kind of start really slow, but then they ramp up. And so I think a lot is going to come down to how much of a lead are the 49ers able to get. Because if they can make it big enough that the Eagles are constantly trying to catch up, but not able to, I could see them winning. But I think if they keep it like a one score 10-point game, I feel like I'd be extremely scared that the Eagles could easily make that up in the second half. So
that's actually good. You mentioning that reminded me that also, like, and I don't have the stats, right? But it always feels like all year this year that the 49ers, if they're going to be in a pinch, that the third quarter is where they really like feel like they're going to get hurt from.
Yeah.
So now you're going to play into a team that for the 49ers where it kind of leans towards that way. It's not, definitive that's where they're weak at, but it kind of leans towards that way. And they got a team that's relatively strong there. So that's definitely going to be key, like just stepping in there. I mean, it's going to be key, especially from the jump, whether it's defensive side of the ball or offensive side of the ball, whatever those opening series is, because you have to go there and make those fans feel like they're in hell. So that's really what you want to do immediately.
Yeah, it's going to be loud. It's going
to be loud in there, and loud in Seattle. Then sure enough, after the first quarter, like they weren't loud. It was quiet. Like, what do you have to cheer about? Like, your team sucks. You're getting blown out right now. So, I mean, the Eagles are always going to have that chance because, they have a way better team. But, again, if you're 49ers, you want to, like, get a lead in the head and, like, set the tone and make them panic. Put the pressure on them. Because, honestly, who has the pressure in this game the most? It's the 49ers. They're 2 games back in the number 1 playoff seeding. Yeah. And it's like, now's your chance to really take control of that because the Bills pretty much coughed up that game that probably should have been theirs. So now it's like you're running out of chances here because the Eagles, all they have to face is you, the 49ers, and the Cowboys who can beat them because who's going to beat them? The Giants? They play the Giants and the Cardinals the rest of the way. The Giants twice. Like, come on. There's no way they're losing those games, I don't think. I mean, anything can happen, right? But I think right now it's looking very, very like a struggling chance that the Niners are going to get that 1 seed. But you have to win this game to give yourself an increased chance.
And I think it's going to be so important for whatever team gets that number 1 seed, just with how beat up both teams are. Even the Eagles, you would think with Jalen Hurts' injury. I know Lane Johnson is on the injury report. He did not practice today, but I think he'll be. I mean, he played through like a torn adductor last year, right? So I feel like there's no way he's gonna sit out, especially for a game of this caliber. Like I imagine that he might play.
Because again, like I said, they don't have the pressure to win that game. I mean, there's obviously pressure to win that game, but again, it's more so like if you're the 49ers, if Lane Johnson was on the 49ers, he would play. Just like the same way like what Aaron Banks played, because obviously he wasn't 100%. He was like what 70, 80 they said, but yeah.
I do think that getting that number 1 seed for whatever team is going to be super important. It almost feels like, and I don't know if this is presumptuous, but it feels like to me that this game is kind of a pre-matchup of whoever's going to go to the playoff or whoever's going to go to the Super Bowl from the NFC. So and that's the one thing that I think is important for fans to kind of remember is this win is important for playoff seeding wise, but it doesn't actually, like, the real test is going to be in the playoffs. If the Eagles lose now, they can still think in their head, okay, in the playoffs, we're going to get them. I just think it will be important for the 49ers to win, not because they need this game necessarily to get to the Super Bowl, but I wonder if it'll affect their confidence. People were kind of talking about this when it came to the Cowboys and the Cowboys needing to beat the 49ers in the regular season or in that week 5 game, because it's kind of like now the Cowboys, if they have to go against the 49ers in playoffs, they have it in their head like we cannot win against this team. And I think with all the kind of bolstering and a little bit of crap talking that the 49ers did following the NFC championship game, I do really believe that they thought, in their hearts that if Brock Purdy stayed healthy, that they at least had a way better chance of winning. I personally thought that they were probably going to lose that game even if Brock Purdy stayed healthy. I think that defense was incredibly dominant. Now I do think it's a lot weaker now. I think they're 29th against the pass, and you see a lot of holes in their secondary that didn't seem to be there last year. But I think it'll be. I think this win means more to the 49ers than the Eagles.